Welcome to ThinkTech, raising public awareness about technology, energy, globalism, and diversification. As a part of the ThinkTech series, this is the Arts in Hawaii. I am Donna Blanchard, your host. I'm also the managing director of Kumukuhua Theater here in Honolulu. Today, joining me via Skype from Chicago is my guest, life strategist and provocateur, Mark Ward. And today we're going to talk about the art of thought. Not only is provocateur a really fun word to say, but it describes Mark to a T. More about him in just a moment. But remember that we broadcast live on the internet every day. I think we're running pretty much 24/7 these days. All of our shows are streamed on ustream.tv and Spreaker.com. If you would like links to our live streams or any of our previous broadcasts, just go to thinktechhawaii.com. And I just want to point out there are a lot of shows other than mine in this digital series, and I urge you to check them out. There's a lot of really great information about Hawaii and the world to be found on thinktechhawaii.com. If you'd like to join us in our downtown gallery for any of our shows, just write to j@thinktechhawaii.com. Now, Mark Ward is the quintessential Renaissance man. He is a professionally trained actor, engaging public speaker, award-winning writer, highly rated trainer, facilitator, and inspirational coach. After intense study of the principal philosophies and practices of the world's most renowned thought leaders in personal development, spirituality, and behavioral psychology, he created his own holistic approach to unlocking inner wisdom, clarity, and passion as a new design for living. Mark is a friend of mine. We went to college together. We both studied acting at Wright State University. So I have had the rare opportunity to watch the development of the utilization of his natural abilities. And this is a God-given talent, I believe. There's a lot of intuition that goes into what Mark does, along with a great deal of scholarly knowledge. He is also my personal life strategist, and I really do attribute a lot of the success in my life, including the journey that led me here to Hawaii, to my work with Kumukuhua Theater, which is pretty much my dream. That all came about, a great deal of it, as a result of my work with Mark Ward. It is my privilege to bring him to the show as my guest. And remember, this is my birthday present to all of us in the celebration of my very first 49th birthday. Okay, that was fun. All right, Mark, you deserve all of that intro.
Well, thank you so much, and happy birthday to you, Donna.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it.
And if this is the only way that I can get to Hawaii virtually, I will take it.
Okay, you're welcome back anytime. I have a feeling that after we do this show, there are going to be people saying, "Have that guy on again," and there's no limit to what we can talk about, because just as there's no limit to the work that we do at Kumukuhua, because there's no limit to the stories here, there's no limit to the work that you do, because every personal story involves decisions, and those decisions, anytime we make a decision, I believe we're dealing with our own filters and assumptions, and the way in which we make those decisions has so much to do with our assumptions, and your work, if nothing else, helps us get out of our box and see from a different point of view. And I think that you are truly inspired.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I hope so.
You do. But let's really quickly, let's start off at least by talking about the difference between, I have also often referred to you as a life coach.
Right.
And you much prefer the term life strategist. And tell me why you feel so strongly about those terms.
Well, I sort of differentiate the term, one, because I believe that the industry of coaching is proliferated, and I think that a lot of the coaches that I run into, and this is not a criticism, it's just a different approach, are very much sort of cheerleaders. Now, my work is more strategic in that I approach you and your vision as if we were taking a product to market. So the difference between my work and a life coach is that my work is slightly more directive and a little bit less collaborative. Because in my work, when we have established a goal for someone, I literally will tell you how long it is going to take in working with me to arrive at that goal. Some coaches have a little bit more flavor of cheerleader in them. And I am not interested in just making my clients feel good. I want them to feel good by virtue of accomplishing their goals and their dreams. So that's why I sort of differentiate the term a little bit, because it is strategy. It's taking your whole life. It's taking a holistic approach to bringing your vision to reality.
Okay, I got you. Thank you for that clarification. And hey, the last time I had a coach, it was the high school swim coach whose name was Mr. Bader. That was the last. That was the last coach I ever had. So what do I know? But I've always said that, or for a long time I've said that professional athletes have coaches and they have trainers, and they have them throughout their careers. And why shouldn't those of us in the business world, in the nonprofit world, why shouldn't we also have the benefit of that person with a different perspective standing next to us, helping us, guiding us, giving us direction? So that is how I come to the term.
Well, you will get no argument from me.
Okay. And so could you tell us a little bit about the services that you offer? What would be, if someone were to say, I'm interested in having a life strategist, what is a good time in my life, or a good point in my life to give you a call, Mark?
Well, honestly, a good time in your life to call me is when you're fed up in your life as it is right now. When your life perhaps feels empty, it's not what you envisioned that it would be, that you feel unfulfilled, that you feel unaccomplished, that you feel like something is missing. That's a really good time to call me, if for no other reason, to get you very clear about what it is that you are trying to create in your life. Because we could just do that, and then we could also decide whether it serves you to go forward in working with me to help you achieve those goals.
And what can I expect from you if I give you a call, Mark? Well, what's going to happen during the initial contact with you? Let me say that.
Well, I'm going to ask you about, of course, what it is that inspired you to call. What is it that you would like to accomplish as a result of this conversation? How do you feel your time would be best served in the conversation? We'll take it from there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're talking about really giving a lot of responsibility. This is one thing that I loved about working with you, but sometimes it's frustrating because you would always bring the responsibility back to me. You know, what do I want? What do I want to gain? What do I expect? What will it look like? How will I know that I've achieved success? And then you immediately get into, once we have come to that agreement, and it's been, I think, 3 different times in my life that I've utilized your services actively for specific goals, and quite successfully, by my own definition.
Here's the deal. Your life lived is a declaration of who you are, plain and simple. So a lot of people will come to me and to others, and when you ask them what they want, they will say that, I don't know. But this is the greatest lie that we tell ourselves. Why? Because if I ask you what you do not want, you will be able to tell me, and you will probably be able to elaborate for quite some time. So sometimes we have to start there. Tell me what you do not want, what you are fed up with, what you cannot deal with any longer, and then we'll play the game of opposites. If you don't want that, what do you want? And that begins to shift to a vision of clarity.
And sometimes, doesn't it seem that what a person wants is They want to be able to complain. They want the validation that what you've gone through is hard, or what you're going through is difficult. Yes.
They do, and I can give that to them, but it won't end there. Because here's the thing, Donna. For every person that calls me and for everyone out there listening, this is the question that I bring to everyone's table. And that is the pain of where you are greater than the discomfort of what it is going to take to move you out of it? Because you are answering that question every day, whether you know it or not, with your thoughts, your words, and your actions. So why not know your answer and determine whether your answer is indeed aligned with the life that you want to live?
Say it again. Is the pain of where you are?
Is the pain of where you are greater than the discomfort of what it is going to take to move you out of it?
And you know, there have been two dear friends of mine who I think are absolutely brilliant people. I have known them through some difficult times in their lives, with difficult pivotal times in their lives, and they've said, oh, I just love the idea of this life strategist that you've worked with. That's so fabulous. How did you do this? How do you do it? And I tell people, I rave about you all the time. I'm very happy to have sent some people to you. These two people in particular that I'm thinking about literally said to me, I'm afraid that I'm going to have to change if I work with them. I'm afraid of what's beyond there. They were more comfortable staying within the discomfort of the present.
And many people are, and you know what? That's okay. I think where you lose your power is if you're dishonest with yourself, if you're betraying yourself. Now, granted, I would say, what kind of life is that? But there is a lot of fear involved, because I will tell you, all of people's stuff comes up. Because here's the thing, we are all living in a story. But the problem is that many of us have come to believe that somebody else is the author of that story and we're a character, when the truth is we are the ones writing the story.
Right. And it doesn't feel that way a lot. Very often it does not feel like we're the one writing the story. And I
know.
Yeah.
I know it.
I remember my friend Melody.
Yes.
When I lived in Chicago. At one point, I was complaining about, well, I'm just going to say, I was complaining about my ex-husband because we were very different in our styles of housekeeping, let me just say that. Yes. And I was sure that I was right. And Melody said, why are you so sure you're right? Maybe he is. Maybe you should start throwing things around a little bit more. Maybe you should stop being so anal about cleaning off the counter in the kitchen. What, you know, why am I making, here I was stressing over it, and I really was defining right and wrong. And so was he. And in order for a couple to get along, then sometimes there has to be some give and take. But I was disallowing it. I was writing that story. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the sort of when I've worked with you, that's the sort of thing that you seem to come up with very often, that kind of just knocks me upside the head and really shakes my reality a little bit, and I have to realize, oh, okay, so every thought pattern that went into that has to be changed. I have to find other synapses to follow, create new pathways, because that was all literally in my head.
Well, you know, that's right, and that's an important point that you make, because one of the things that's very important in my work is the way that I approach it, is that success, no matter how it is defined, no matter how you are defining it for your life, is a matter of conditioning. Just like if we were going to go on The Biggest Loser on TV to lose weight, it's about aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with your vision, and it really is a conditioning process.
Yeah. Mark, I'm sorry, we're going to have to take our first break right now.
Okay.
So we'll be right back. This is The Arts in Hawaii on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm Donna Blanchard, and I am talking with provocateur Mark Ward. We'll be right back.
I'm Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association. We do monthly luncheon programs with ThinkTech about things that matter to Hawaii entrepreneurs, investors, and business service providers. So join us on the fourth Thursday of every month at the Plaza Club. For information about upcoming events or to join our mailing list, visit hvca.org. See you there.
Hi, we're back and we're live. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the ThinkTech Hawaii series. I am Donna Blanchard. I'm a proud managing director of Kumukuhua Theater, and I am talking with Mark Ward, and the title of the show is The Art of Thought. So Mark, the last point that you just made,
yes.
Or what was it? Can you make that again, please?
Yes. Success, no matter how it is defined for anyone out there, is a matter of conditioning. It's about aligning your thoughts, words, and your actions to your vision. So it is a process very similar to working out, as if you had a physical goal and had to go to a gym. It's a very similar process. It's really more about that than it is about the specific goal.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And I remember an exercise that you did with me very early on, the first time I worked with you. You had me write the story of my perfect day.
Uh-huh.
And I, being the dramatic soul that I am, wrote from before my eyes even opened, I could smell the sea breeze wafting in through my window and blah, blah, blah. And I wrote this entire day all the way down to playing Christine in Phantom of the Opera. And I'm an alto, but who knows, something could change.
It's a dream. Yeah.
It's a dream. But what you helped me realize after I had put that day together is there was so much that was a part of that no holds barred, I pulled out all the stops, fantasy of a day. There was so much in there that was already just a matter of changing my mind about things that I was already doing. I was already living it. I was caught up in my own stories that were keeping me from seeing that a lot of things in my life at that point in time were already on target to what I wanted.
Right.
And that was so very motivating for me to realize that, sheesh, I'm already a quarter of the way there.
Well, and again, this comes back to something I alluded to earlier in different phrasing, but life really is about choices. Your life right now is the effect that you have caused by your choices. Now, some of us don't want to hear that, right? I don't want to hear that sometimes because I would rather pretend that I am victim to some opposing force. But the truth is, even though we don't have control of the universe, we have control of how we respond to it, and that is everything.
That is everything. That not only how we respond to it with our actions, but with our thoughts.
Exactly.
And that
exactly.
Can
and your words. And your words.
And your words.
Words are very important. Yes.
Yeah. And that's something that I have I still struggle with. What are the words that we're supposed to eliminate?
If you want to change your life immediately, pay attention to your use of the words don't, not, and no, and think and try. Those are the words: don't, not, no, think, and try.
And why those words?
Well, don't, not, and no, when you use those words, you are expressing something that you do not want. So when you catch yourself saying those words, stop yourself, take a breath, and state what you do want instead. You will even feel the difference in your body because it's a very different energy. It's like if you're dealing with a child, for example, and you're like, don't run in the hall, versus walk in the hall. It's a very different energy. And it's also received very differently, not only by other people, but by you, because it forces a certain kind of clarity. It puts you on a path to constantly taking responsibility for what it is that you do want in any circumstance. Now, as far as thinking, as far as think and try, one of the, and this is a really big one for me, one of the ways that we sort of scapegoat responsibility is to use the word think. Instead, I would rather people focus on what do you know. And as far as try, it's the whole Yoda thing, right? There is no try, there is only do. So let's stop talking about what you're trying to do and tell me what you're actually doing.
That's profound, you know, and I've heard it, I've heard it before. You're absolutely right.
It's simple, but it's profound. Yes, I didn't make it up, but it's very effective.
It's kind of life-changing. So let's talk about what are the obstacles that you see people running into most often? I know that like the don't, not, know, think, and try are words. Oh, we didn't go through try. Did you go through try?
Yes.
It's not what you're trying to do.
Trying versus doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what other obstacles right off the bat do you run into with most people that if they changed something fairly simple, it would open them to new possibilities?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One of the most common obstacles that people have is they automatically limit themselves in response to answering the question, what do they want? And I'll give you an example. I had a client recently who one of the goals that she listed when we were going through goal setting was to find the best master's program. But that's not her goal. That's the means that she in her mind has decided is the only viable way to get the goal. So the real goal for her is what she believes that program is going to provide in her life. So it's really about the end game. And there's nothing wrong, for example, of exploring the opportunities, right, of those kinds of programs, because that's a very viable path. But let's not close the door to other possibilities. What if there are other ways of reaching what your ultimate goal is? So that's one thing. People sabotage themselves by their own limited version of possibility. And that's all based on whatever they've plugged into in the world of what other people have said is possible or impossible, what their parents have said, what their life has told them. And that is a major form of sabotage. And that's where people get stuck in the story that they are writing instead of expanding beyond. Because at some point you have to decide whether you want to live your life as the exception or as the rule. And the leaders of the world, my friends, are the exceptions. They're not the people who ever took no for an answer. Now there's a greater form of sabotage that exists in almost every person I've worked with for the past 11 years. And that is, are you ready?
Yeah.
It's fear of success. People talk about the fear of failure. I don't believe that it exists. I think that's a misnomer. I've never actually seen it. But fear of success, I think, is in every one of us, because my experience has been that people will get very, very close, sometimes close to the last inning of achieving that big goal, and then they will do something big to sabotage themselves. And I've seen it over and over again. And when I started stepping back and examining it, I realized that most of us have this fear of success, because what if you achieve that thing that has been your dream for a large part of your life, and it's not all that you thought it was? What if you were wrong? That means that everything in your life could have been a lie. So rather than dealing with that possibility, let me just keep it just a little bit at bay so it can always be something that I dream about but never really try to achieve.
Well, I think that there's a fear of not only it may not be everything that we had hoped it would be, so that can feel crushing.
Right.
But also, if I have fought for this goal, or this has always been in the back of my mind that I want this so badly, and then I get it, then I'm going to have a void. I'm going to have to create new patterns, and we seek the normalcy and sameness of patterns in our lives. So I think the loss of that, the comfort of that story of I want, is also part of the problem.
Well, yes, and it comes back to the question that I asked before. Is the pain of where you are greater than that discomfort of what it's going to take to move you out of it? And that's why I say the best time for people to call me is when they've had enough, because that's when they're really serious. Because if you call me and you're not serious, I will smell it on you. And we will not end up working together, and that's okay. I mean, you know, that's okay. It will actually still be a helpful conversation for you, because you will have a greater clarity about what to do going forward, perhaps, even if you're not working with me. But it really does. Here's the thing, Donna. Whenever I become disconnected from the work that I do, I go down to the Loop here in Chicago during the rush hour, and I look at the faces of the people on the trains, on the buses, going into their offices, the grimacing faces. I call it the walking wounded, because it is like an episode of The Walking Dead. You see all of these people that, if I want to put it dramatically, but also I think truthfully, are walking into essentially an emotional holocaust of their own creation. They are surrendering all of their being for a limited vision of what they think they can have, instead of working for what they want. Now let me put a caveat on that. Not everybody's job can be their passion. That's ridiculous, right? Somebody's got to bust the tables, and there's probably not enough people passionate about busting tables to fill all the restaurants. But if your job cannot be your passion, then it really should be paying for it.
I agree, absolutely. And if you're in a job that you really don't like, that's not fulfilling those needs in your life, you're in somebody else's way. Somebody else would love to have that job, waiting tables or bussing tables. They need it. They want it.
That's right.
The Dream Day exercise was really difficult to do. It was really difficult to do, and you're right. You smell it on people when you don't put that thought into it, and that's one of the beauties of working with you. Let me tell you, you get your money's worth, because you are so very intuitive about it. There's no BSing you, and a lot of times it's not a matter of BSing you, it's a matter of not being clear with myself. What do I really want? And in our next segment, maybe we can talk about how we break that down a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any anecdotal stories for us about times when you've seen someone clearly not being clear, not being honest, that you've been able to ferret out pretty quickly? Does that happen with most people at some point? I would bet within the first phone call you find at least a couple of points that people are just saying what they've said over and over. Yeah.
I do, because when people are speaking to you, I mean, I can really say that I get what I've come to believe are intuitive hits about certain doors to open, certain words that people use that sort of key me in to what their story might be. So I will begin, you know, as you said in the introduction, I am a provocateur. I believe that my life, in large part, one of my callings is to ask the questions that invite people to go deeper, to see the power and possibility in every circumstance, in every situation, to really own that that power is theirs. So sometimes you have to ask those questions to access that inner wisdom when the person doesn't really know what doors you're actually opening. Because there is something inside of us that holds the truth of our callings, and it will always emerge if you create the space for it. And so a large part of my long-term work with people that are in programs that have larger goals is about uncovering the voice of that wisdom.
Ooh, okay, we'll talk more about that in the next segment. We have to take a break real quick. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the ThinkTech Hawaii series. I am Donna Blanchard, Managing Director of Kumukuhua Theater, and I am talking with Mark Ward of Ask Mark Ward and New Design. We'll be right back.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org.
Aloha, my name is Dan Bauer and I'm the General Manager of the Plaza Club. The Plaza Club is Honolulu's premier business club. We're located in the heart of the financial district on historic Fort Street Mall. On the 20th and 21st floors atop the Pioneer Plaza, our commanding skylight views, along with our award-winning cuisine and service, are known as the place to do business downtown. We offer professional as well as social events and programs to our members and their guests, all tailored to enrich their professional and personal lives and to give them the cutting edge that they deserve in business. Why don't you consider becoming a member of the club? Call me at 531-7788 or come see me and let's talk business and how the Plaza Club can work for you. Again, my name is Dan Bauer. I'm the General Manager of the club.
Hi, we're back and we're live. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the ThinkTech digital series. I am your host, Donna Blanchard. I am talking with Mark Ward, and we're going to go right back into where we left off with our last segment, and let's talk about, Mark, how you dig down into a person's inner wisdom, that inner voice that sometimes is very, very muffled for us personally.
Well, one of the things that I have discovered about people, all of us, we're all guilty, is that we are great liars. And we lie most to ourselves. And the lie is really about the fear of what might be possible or what might be impossible. So one of the things that I do when I'm working with someone over a longer term, when they have a bigger goal, is one of the ways I found to really expedite the process and to bring it really to the surface is I use a lot of writing exercises. And when I'm speaking with someone, I get this again, some intuitive hits that sort of give me the idea as to what the door is by title. So what I will do with people oftentimes is I will give them the first line of something they are to write about, and I ask them to write it stream of consciousness, a minimum of 3 pages without lifting the pen, not to think about sentence structure or grammar or to even go back and read it. And then when we speak in the next week, I have them read these things to me. Now what invariably happens is, even though we are very clever storytellers or liars, the pattern of the lie will point you toward the truth. So when you are consistently taking the stream of consciousness approach, I will have the person themselves identify what they are hearing, what they are seeing. And so the process, this strategic life planning process, when it's a longer term sort of program, what I can relate it to is it's like taking a bunch of pieces and throwing them up against a wall. All of these pieces, because one of the things I tell people is, I'm going to ask you to do a lot of things that you're not going to have a clue as to what they're for. Just trust me. Just get on the ride and let's go. And there's a point in the process where I just have a sense of knowing that it's time. And then we step back and we look at that wall and I say, what do you see? And that's where the miracles come in, Donna, because for every person, what you will find is that people's lives have been calling them. Their souls have been calling them and trying to point them in a specific direction their entire life. And when you step back and look at the wall, all of the things that have emerged from this person's stream of consciousness, it becomes very evident. It's very exciting for me because I'm just facilitating the process. Those people are doing the work. I get to witness it, and to me, that is really divine in action.
Yeah, you know, a lot of what you do is, it is intuitive, it's philosophical, it's spiritual, and it's psychological. I believe, from what I've seen working with you, it really is a holistic holistic approach. And there was an exercise that you did with me where you had me start writing what is mine to do, or
right,
yeah, and that, and just not stop writing, not lift the pen and go on for 3 pages. And it pretty much, I told the story of where I am in my life right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do want to add something to that, lest people get the wrong idea, because this is something that exists when people are talking about people that do this work that is bothersome to me, and you can speak to it as one who's experienced it. It is all of those things, and it is a very practical.
Oh, yeah.
This is not all woo-woo, shared philosophy, let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya around the campfire. Because one of the things that makes me different than some coaches out there is I spend a great deal of time up front defining the metric that we're going to use for success. How is it that you will know that you have achieved what it is that you want? How are we going to know that we're done? Because we don't need to spend our entire lives with one another. So how are you going to know that you have achieved your goal, your vision, to your satisfaction? There has to be tangible things that we can relate it to. That's very important. Otherwise, it is a lot of woo-woo, what if, ethereal conversations, which I like those too, but I don't think people want to pay for those so much.
Right. They go to a different person if they want that.
Exactly.
And yes, it's not only practical, it is intellectual. It is
very much. The
conversations with you are goal-oriented, and you know, it's like writing a grant proposal in some ways. What is your success going to look like? What do you want? How will you know it's successful? What will it look like? How will you take that? How will you work with that? And how will you sustain that? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
I never thought of that analogy before, but it's a good one.
Well, I happen to spend
I don't write grants, so yeah.
I spent a lot of time with my face in grant proposals. And you know what? Here is what I like about both writing grant proposals and your work is exactly that. Here, the organization of thought paired with deed. Here is what we want. This is what we are going to do to get it. These are the steps. Here is the timeline. Here are the milestones. This is how we will know we've been successful. This is how many people we're going to reach. This is the amount of money we're going to spend. You know, all of that. Pragmatic approach. Well, that's part of the reason why I'm an artist who can also be the managing director of a theater, because I appreciate that. But I think in everyone's lives we have to have the yin and yang balance of, you know, we have these lusty desires of the soul, but you have to have a pragmatic approach to it. If you really seriously want to get there, you have to be able to break it down into steps. And that's what you are so good at doing.
Well, thank you. And I think one of the things that often impedes people is not only they often feel that their vision is just too big and insurmountable, but it's not really about that, because one of the things that is required in this kind of work is sort of the flexibility in the journey to realize that that thing that you think is your actual vision, it may be something else. But the only way that it is going to exhibit itself and show itself to you is if you get off the couch, is if you start walking in the direction of what you think it is, because then the truth reveals itself on that road. So you have to take forward motion in order to create change.
Right. And you have your clients take forward motion every single day. There's some, even if it's a tiny little step.
I do.
Or a seemingly tiny little step, let's say. Would you like to get into the, I think it's 10 different aspects of your life in which we define our goals and work? Would you like to go into that? We've got about 5 minutes in this segment here.
Let's just speak about it abstractly.
Okay.
One of the things that I do with people, here's the thing. I have a lot of people that will call me from time to time that want to really hire me in terms of career counseling. And this is something that I will not do exclusively if we are going to take your life as a pocket, as just a piece of your life. Why? Because to me it's ridiculous. When you go to work, all of you shows up. Now, your employer may not like that. They may want you to check part of yourself at the door, but the truth is all of you walks in the door. So if you are truly trying to create a more effective life, a more successful life, a better life for yourself, it's important that we look at the whole picture. Because sometimes people are unaware of how certain aspects of their life are influencing their response to other areas. So one of the things that I have done to help facilitate that process is I break people's lives down into categories. And then we begin with, what is your greatest desire in each of these areas, in each of these categories, whether it be health and body, or whether it be home, or work and career, or spirituality, or adventure and travel. You know, there's a number of categories that we can use. So that we can then begin to take that picture and begin to break it down into digestible pieces and priorities. Which of these things would you like to achieve first? And does that make sense? And just to create what is a strategic life plan. Because here's the deal. It's all about, who do you want to be? Okay? Who do you want to be? How do you define success? Now, for most of us, there is a gap between who we are and who we want to be. So my life is about creating with you the strategic life plan that bridges that gap to get you from where you are to where you want to be in every aspect of your life. So that you are living, not just existing, because we have enough of that on this planet and we can't afford to have more of it.
Right. Right. And just like working with a personal trainer, it's not just a matter of us making the decisions, this is where I want to be. It's having a game plan and then having someone there to report to.
Exactly. Accountability is very important with any kind of goal setting. It really is, because creating change for all of us, it can be uncomfortable, it can be difficult, and sometimes downright painful. So it's important to have someone to help you to remain anchored to what it is that you are actually creating and to help you maneuver those obstacles.
And do you work with people, you work with people on great big issues that they have, but you also have, Ask Mark Ward is
Yes.
a body of, part of the body of your work that offers people an opportunity to work with you on a smaller scale, right?
Yes, one of the things that's always bothered me is, I would like for a lot of people to experience the power of this work, what this can bring to people's lives, and I didn't want people to be inhibited or prevented from doing it by virtue of the fees, because this work on an expansive level, it's not inexpensive. It simply is not. So I wanted to create a different avenue. So an experiment was askmarkward.com, and I thought, what if I create a way for people categorically to submit their question, and I will respond to them within 24 hours, and after they have received in writing, and after they've received their answer, then they can just make a contribution based on what they thought it was worth to them within whatever their budget is. No questions asked. So if I don't get anything, that's okay, because this is what I'm here to do on the planet. So better me doing it for someone than just sitting here waiting for the phone to ring.
So now wait a minute. Here's the question I have about that. And
Yes.
yeah, when I want to work with Mark Ward, it's for something big, like a life-changing event.
Right.
Do you take the opportunity to get into any sort of clarifying questions with that person when you're working with them that way, or you're taking face value question and giving face value answer?
Well, I have to take face value, and I will say that this has been the most challenging aspect of this experiment. Is you will notice, if you ever look at it, that my responses are quite lengthy, because when I'm speaking with someone on the phone, I can get hits based on their their intonation, on their inflection, on the way that they speak about certain things, on the pattern of their words. So I get an idea and can ask clarifying questions. But when it's in writing, I don't have that luxury. So what I have to do in my response is try to cover a bunch of bases. And then of course I get some sort of response generally about whether that answered their question or not. But it is a very difficult thing. I also offer an option on there for people to Skype. They can do it that way too. Nobody has taken me up on it though.
Oh.
But it is an option if people are more comfortable that way. But here's the deal, Donna. I don't want anybody ever to be impeded by finance. I will work with any budget. The trick is that people have to want it enough to own that conversation, to be able to say, this is the budget I have to work with, because I can't know that. So you have to come to me and say, I really want this. This is what I have to work with. What can we do? I will work with anybody. I have bartered with people so that when they have become more successful down the road, they have compensated me then. I will work with anyone who really, really wants it. The reason why an exchange of some sort is important is because it's important for people to provide this a level of priority and value. In other words, if you're going to go out and buy yourself a new sofa for your apartment, let's just say, or anything, are you going to give that more value than your life? So it comes down sometimes to how much is it worth to you within what you have to spend, within your budget, to spend to create what you really, really want. How is that different from buying that big screen TV?
Right. It's very different. I wasn't raised to think this is something that you do, but now that I have done it, I can absolutely vouch for it's worth a lot more than a sofa. Hold on for just a moment, Mark. We're going to take another break. This will be just a quick one. We'll be right back. I'm Donna. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the ThinkTech Digital Series. We'll be right back.
I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo. Aloha. I'm Nicole Horry for ThinkTech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Hi, we're back and we're live. This is the Arts in Hawaii on the ThinkTech Hawaii Digital Series. I am Donna Blanchard, and I am talking with provocateur Mark Ward. And let's go back to exactly where we left off. Like I said, I know that I was not, you're raised to believe that you spend money on an education and a car and a house and the furnishings for the house and your hair. But when it comes to and the doctor and the dentist and these things, but I never heard my parents talk about a life strategist or anyone beyond a formal education who might help me through my own decision-making processes. And that is why I compare the work that you do to a coach or to a director, if you will. I, an actor on stage, really believe that what I am doing is the physical manifestation that will share with the audience what I believe is going on with in my character's head in the moment. But the reason you have a director is they're looking at a much larger picture, and they are able to communicate to me how I am showing up, regardless of my intention. What is the efficacy of how I am showing up? And I think that your work clears the cobwebs and makes it much more possible. It gives that 30,000-foot view of, but this is what you're telling me. This is what you said. This is what you want. This is where you want to be. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I think the question that people have to ask themselves is, what is the cost of not doing it? Isn't this in fact a health issue? It depends on what your life looks like and how you feel about it. And to remember that this is not a dress rehearsal. The clock is ticking. We only have, as far as we know, one life to live. So what are you going to do with that? Are you just going to surrender, or do you really want to create the life that you want? And that takes forward action. And for me, if I'm miserable enough, I'm going to try everything. And there's nothing weird about this. We do this all the time as humans, right? We go to our friends and our family to ask advice, but the difference is that sometimes they do not have the experience and the skills and the methodology to actually assist you with the forward motion of creating what you want. So that's when it becomes more or less a gripe session and a release, which those are great too, but it's a question of, don't you get tired of that? Don't you want to change it? Don't you want your life lived to be a full expression of who you want to be on this planet?
Yeah.
I do.
Well, and you know what? Let me add to that, I need to wrap up here, but I want to add to that if that getting together with friends and griping about it, maybe if that is where you want to stay, then at least embrace that and say, I have a lot of fun when I get together with my friends and we sit around and gripe about what's going on. I actually really enjoy that. We can say that. Sure. I enjoy kvetching about this, but now I'm ready for a change. And in wrap up here, I want to say that there are two ways to work with Mark Ward. If you are listening or watching this and have any inkling of, I would like to work with this man, and he also does excellent brainstorming work with corporate leaders, with leaders, let's say, people who want to find a clearing. You can contact him in any way. You can go to Ask Mark Ward and come with smaller questions. When you're looking at something larger like a major relationship or a career change, that's a time to come in and work, get into a little more schedule a little more time to work with Mark Ward then. And then also contact Mark if you are interested in any sort of brainstorming or strategical work for your company.
Right. A lot of the calls that I receive are just people who are stuck in the moment. They don't need to spend a long time with me. It's just a problem. This is my problem. And I help them get out of the hole they perceive themselves to be stuck into. I love those calls. So the bottom line is, no matter what your circumstance, if you think you could benefit, give me a call. We'll talk about it. That doesn't cost anything.
That's amazing. I said the word strategical, by the way. I just wanted to point that out. I have to wrap up. Thank you so very much, Mark. I really appreciate
Thank you, Donna.
It has been.
Thank you, ThinkTech Hawaii.
Hey, thank you. Let's see, what do I have to read now? AskMarkWard.com is where you can go to find Mark. Thank you to our production manager, Ian Davidson, our communications director, Chrissy Goffigan, and to Jay Fidel, who somehow puts this all together. Thanks to you for watching the Arts in Hawaii. Check back with us next week. We will be here for another show. And please, like us on Facebook.